Hi guys, welcome back to Foliage Loft. My name is Liam, and as you can see today, I'm not in the apartment. We're not going to be doing a plant video today. I just got off work. It's around 11 a.m. Saturday morning, and we're going to head on an outdoor adventure. So we're going to head to Elora, Ontario. It's about a half an hour drive, so I'll check back in with you when I arrive.
Elora is a small village in southern Ontario, with a population of only 7,000 people. This land was originally settled and inhabited by the First Nations people, specifically the Neutral Nation, and this area was known as the area of the Attawandaron. Elora was eventually settled and founded by Europeans in the early 1800s, and there is a timeless and old feeling to the village. Elora is known for the incredible geology of the Elora Gorge, which is what I'm here to see today. It was formed by the powerful force of the Grand River. I arrived at Victoria Park, a small green space just outside the main village of Elora, and walked through a small forest to try to get my first view of the gorge. I noticed a sign off in the distance and went to go read it. I learned that the David Street Bridge that crosses the gorge was built back in the 1800s, and at one point the entire gorge was logged and pretty much just used as the city dump. Eventually, some upstanding citizens realized how bad the issue was and cleaned it up. When I looked up to see the bridge, I noticed the incredible transformation, and the bridge was perfectly framed by an arch of foliage. I knew this was a perfect opportunity for a flight, so I powered up my drone and headed through the gap in the trees to get a better view. This is the Elora Gorge. The cliffs on either side of the river stand up to 22 meters above the water. The gorge is about 2 kilometers long and is the defining feature of the landscape in Elora. Like so many of the cliffs in Ontario, it was formed from glacial meltwaters at the end of the last ice age, and it's just spectacular, especially from the sky. After a long week at work, stuck inside while the weather was beautiful, this is exactly the escape that I needed. Hold on a second. Stop the music. What is that? Is that a power line? Oh, it's a tightrope. I definitely should have remembered to keep an eye out for this obstacle. This probably would have been instant death for my poor little drone. Let's turn back for a bit. So I packed up the drone and I found this pretty steep and intimidating staircase. After a long trek down, I reached the bottom of the gorge. Once I reached the bottom, it felt as though I was in a different world. It was busier than I thought it would be down here, but everyone seemed to be really enjoying wading through the river, with kids jumping in puddles and scrambling over big boulders. I even saw someone with a kayak off in the distance. And the geology really stands out down here. The limestone cliffs are immense and dotted with caves. The river was shallow and lazy because of the dry weather lately, and it gave the bottom of the gorge a really peaceful feel. And it was really incredible seeing how the trees along the cliffs held on to the sheer cliffs with their root systems. I had this really deep feeling of awe at the scale of the gorge. It made you feel small and insignificant, and sometimes when you're in nature, I think that can be a good thing. After exploring the bottom of the gorge, I headed back up that steep staircase and headed to another lookout point called Lover's Leap. And this lookout point is named in commemoration of a native princess who is said to have leapt to her death after her lover had been killed in battle. There doesn't seem to be much evidence showing that this ever actually happened, and it was probably just fabricated in order to attract tourists. In my opinion, the view alone is enough to attract people here. Where you can see the magnificent intersection of the Grand River with the Irvine River, it truly is a sight to behold. After taking in the amazing view, I headed down a flowery trail to get closer to the main attraction of the village of Elora, the Elora Mill. The Elora Mill was built in 1832, built from the very limestone that makes up the geology of the area. It was originally both a mill and a distillery, and it wasn't until the 1970s that an idea was hatched to transform it into a hotel. By 2010, the building was in pretty rough shape and the hotel was closed down. But a new plan emerged to transform the old building into a world-class resort and spa, and I think it really blends the old world and the modern world together in a really great way. The building is incredibly striking, and especially in the way the original limestone elements of the building look part of the natural environment. After seeing the building from the sky, I headed on foot into the heart of the village to get a closer look at some of the other sites. There were lots of little cafes, pubs, and ice cream shops along the main street of Elora. And it was interesting to see just how much of the architecture in Elora was constructed with the limestone found in the cliffs here. After seeing all this limestone in the village, I headed to my final destination. It was a long hike down the river, but I finally reached the Elora Gorge conservation area. I really wanted to see the hole in the rock, a very imaginative and creative name for a natural formation in the cliff that you can actually walk right through. So this might not be fun if you're claustrophobic, but it really is a unique aspect of this conservation area. I headed down the stairs that are carved into the rock, wary of the immense weight of the rock above my head. And at the bottom, you're greeted by a grouping of trees that somehow found their home on this massive boulder with all their roots on display. You also get a great close-up look at the cliff face at the bottom of the hole in the rock. After heading back up the stairs, I knew that I wanted to get some more shots of the gorge, which I think is its most impressive around the conservation area. You could really see the scale of the gorge from here, and the bright white color of the limestone rocks really pops against the dark river and the green foliage. The water is also a little deeper in this section of Elora, so I got to see a few people tubing down the river, which I have to say does look like a lot of fun. But this brings us to the end of our journey in Elora. I hope you guys enjoyed coming along on the adventure. Hopefully if you plan to visit this small village, this video has helped you in some way. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button down below, and subscribe to my channel if you're interested in more content like this. And thank you guys so much for watching. See ya.